Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Some interesting news came out a few days ago. Is it a big deal? It's not quite clear yet whether or not that's the case, but it's definitely worth talking about. Paradox has announced that they've brought back White Wolf Publishing. Now, for those who are not aware, White Wolf is the original publisher for all things World of Darkness related, including, of course, Vampire the Masquerade and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Now, Paradox makes it clear that they're bringing White Wolf back to be an independent subsidiary under them, right? So basically, White Wolf is going to handle everything that involves World of Darkness, and hopefully it's going to allow things to move much faster and more efficiently in that section, right? Hopefully the tabletop games are going to get more updates. The fans feel like they're going to get more communication. And potentially it means we're going to get more video games centered in the World of Darkness universe down the line. Of course, I don't expect very much to change regarding Bloodlines 2. That game is probably set, and it is being co-published by both Paradox and White Wolf. But what Paradox has said in the past is that it feels like the video games that it deals with directly should be real-time strategy games, that its experience with RPGs has been negative for the most part, and perhaps by splitting all that off and letting an independent creation kind of handle more of those types of tasks, hopefully we're going to see more RPGs set in the World of Darkness universe. It, of course, doesn't directly say that in this announcement, but that's absolutely what I'm hoping we're going to get out of this whole thing. But let's go ahead and switch over to PC Gamer for more information. So Paradox is bringing back White Wolf for tabletop RPGs in at least one video game, meaning Masquerade, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Now, of course, I'll leave a link down below to this article, but it says 10 years after buying White Wolf from CCP Games and 7 years after eliminating it as a separate entity, more on that later, Paradox Interactive is bringing it back as the official licensing and publishing entity for all of its transmedia properties, including Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, and Hunter the Reckoning. And the World of Darkness Executive Vice President Marco Berman said, "I'm extremely excited and proud to bring back White Wolf as an independent business entity, taking the legendary World of Darkness IP portfolio into the future. Establishing a dedicated publishing wing for our internally developed tabletop role-playing games strengthens our already successful licensing business. This lets us develop both classic and new IPs faster with a clear long-term transmedia vision, always in collaboration with our passionate fans and partners." Now, if we scroll down a little bit, we'll get to a part of this article that I feel like isn't really quite right, doesn't do enough to give the fans more context. So if you're going to talk about the fact that Paradox is bringing White Wolf back, of course, you probably also need to talk about why it closed down in the first place. And so they say Paradox bought White Wolf and all related assets in 2015, but pulled the plug 3 years later following the release of Vampire the Masquerade source books that inappropriately reference purges of gay people in Chechnya and also face allegations of catering to Nazis. So let's dig into that a little bit more. That link goes to a copy of a blog post for a website called Dog with Dice. I don't think they exist anymore, but this particular blog post was retrieved, and it's called "How New White Wolf Marketed Vampire the Masquerade to the Alt-Right and Neo-Nazis." And it's all about how the people who took over White Wolf during that time supposedly changed a bunch of things in the source material in an effort to try to appeal to these types of guys. Right now, for the most part, the people that are mentioned in this article are referred to as Sweden edgelords, right? Their specific names are not mentioned, and most certainly their pictures are not placed in the article. However, there is one person who was called out specifically, and that would be Zac Sabbath. You can see a picture of him here. And Zac Sabbath was accused of a bunch of things in this blog post. Basically, they're saying he was part of a Gamergate movement and that he was very negative towards women, harassing women, that supposedly he harassed a trans person, and just all sorts of other awful things. Now, Zac responded to this article with a blog post that's actually got 6 different parts, and he writes extensively about this time with White Wolf and about his role in bringing about the game. And he also does quite a bit to cause doubt on many of the people who were involved with basically trying to say that he was this type of person. I've read through the Dog with Dice article, and I've read through the blog post that he provided, along with the perspectives of a bunch of other people who were around during that time. And to be honest with you, it doesn't seem like Dog with Dice portrayed Zac fairly. It doesn't seem like he's associated with Gamergate. It doesn't seem like he's this right-wing guy who associates with Nazi ideology. In fact, it's pretty apparent that he's left-wing, and he says he is Jewish. So just all the way around, it seems like many of the things in that article turned out to not be true. Now, it is also apparent that some of the decisions made by the people who took over White Wolf were wrong, that they caused pain, and that folks were definitely justified in feeling upset about a lot of it, right? But the idea that these things were done because secretly these guys wanted to change Vampire the Masquerade to appeal to the Tiki Torch crowd, I don't think that really holds up. And so I feel like it doesn't make sense to link to what the Dog with Dice article and not also link to the blog post that Zac has put up. Now, I want to be completely clear, because you all always know I'm going to be straight up about things. I want to be completely clear. In no way, shape, form, or fashion am I trying to present Zac as this great guy who was just done wrong and other people should pity him, et cetera, et cetera. Zac is currently in the midst of a lawsuit against his wife, or at this point, ex-wife, who has accused him of assault and abuse extensively in a blog post. And there were 3 other women who joined with her in those accusations as well. He has sued all of them, and they have all countersued him. One of the women has put up a GoFundMe post where she talks extensively about the results of the lawsuit. And I think it's all really harrowing and really, really messed up. But at the end of the day, this is a gaming channel that is separate from this whole White Wolf Vampire the Masquerade situation. So I will leave links down in the description if you want to see all of that for yourself. And I'll definitely leave a link to the GoFundMe if you want to donate to the woman who was really struggling to recoup all the legal costs she had to go through in order to be able to defend herself. But I'm not going to go into the weeds or down the rabbit hole on this, because I know most of the people who come to this channel aren't even interested in seeing that type of information anyway. So just to be clear, once again, I felt like it was necessary to give all of that perspective so you have a better understanding of what came before. Paradox essentially decided they didn't want to be associated with all that nonsense and shut White Wolf down and brought everything that they were doing internal. And so now they finally decided it's time we can bring White Wolf back. I've heard no specific announcement about who's running White Wolf now, so it'll be interesting to decide. It'll be interesting to find out who they've given the keys to the kingdom them to, but hopefully this is going to be the start of some new, very interesting things for the world of darkness. As a fan of the overall property and someone who would love to see more great games centered in that universe, I think it is very exciting news. So we'll see how it goes, but regardless, I think it's interesting. Look forward to seeing you all's feedback down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.